Okay, so picture this stacks of paper, endless names and motions, that faint scent of stale coffee in the air. Not exactly the setting for a political thriller, right? But trust me, hidden within the seemingly mundane world of Seattle City Council meeting minutes are stories waiting to be unearthed. We're talking about real decisions, real debates, and real impact on the city we call home. Today, we're going on a deep dive into a unique set of sources, the minutes from three consecutive Seattle City Council meetings back in May 2024. It's like we've got our hands on a time capsule, ready to crack it open and understand what made Seattle tick during those pivotal weeks. And joining me to navigate this bureaucratic maze is our expert, who can spot a policy shift from a mile away. What's fascinating about these minutes, what you say, is that they offer a glimpse into local government that goes beyond the headlines.
Absolutely. These minutes are more than just a dry record of votes and motions. They're a fingerprint of a specific time and place in Seattle's history. They reveal the pressing issues of the day, the power dynamics at play, and even the personalities that shape the city's direction.
Right. We often think of history in terms of grand events, but these minutes remind us that it's also written through the everyday workings of local government. So let's rewind to May 7th, 2024, the first meeting on our agenda. What can you tell us about the players and the scene that day?
Well, our deep dive begins, as many good stories do, with a slight delay. It seems a couple of our council members were running a bit behind schedule, council members Hollingsworth and Rivera to be precise. Even in the highly structured world of city council meetings, things don't always go exactly to plan.
It's a good reminder that we're dealing with real people here, juggling busy schedules, and, dare I say, maybe even encountering a bit of Seattle traffic. But speaking of keeping things on track, the minutes meticulously record who was present and who was absent. What's the significance of this roll call? It seems like more than just a formality.
You're right, it's all about ensuring a quorum, the minimum number of members required to officially conduct business. Without a quorum, no decisions can be made, no votes can be taken. It's a fundamental principle of democratic governance. In this case, while council members Hollingsworth and Rivera arrived late, the meeting still had a quorum. We see that Council President Nelson was present, along with council members Kettle, Suckus-Strauss, and Wu. Council members Moore and Morales were both excused from this particular meeting.
Okay, so we've got our quorum, a slight delay, and two council members absent but excused. It seems even in the world of local government, a little bit of drama unfolds. But before we get into the heart of the matter, can you tell us why it's important to note when a council member is excused? It seems like a minor detail.
It's all about transparency and accountability. Recording absences and excused absences helps the public understand who was present for crucial decisions and who might have had a different perspective had they been there. These seemingly minor details contribute to the public's trust in the process.
It's like laying the groundwork for understanding the nuances of the decisions that were made. Okay, so with our quorum intact and the scene set, let's move on to the May 14th meeting. It seems like this is where the real action starts, especially regarding appointments to various city boards and commissions. Am I right? What can you tell us about these appointments, and why should our listener care about them?
You know, when I think of city council meetings, the first thing that springs to mind isn't exactly a flurry of appointments. It sounds like we're about to delve into the nuts and bolts of how Seattle actually functions, right?
Absolutely. These appointments might seem procedural at first glance, but they represent a critical aspect of how the city translates policy into action. We're talking about who gets a seat at the table, who gets to influence key decisions, on everything from ethics and elections to the iconic Pike Place Market. Okay, so let's break it down for our listener. We're looking at the minutes from the May 14th and 21st meetings, and they're packed with appointments. What kind of boards and commissions are we talking about here? Give us a sense of the scope and scale of these appointments.
We're talking about a wide range of bodies, each with its own area of expertise and influence. For example, on May 14th, we see appointments to the Seattle Ethics and Elections Commission. This commission plays a crucial role in ensuring fair elections and promoting ethical conduct in government.
Transparency and accountability, always essential, especially in today's world. It sounds like these appointments have real implications for how our city functions ethically.
Precisely. And on both the 14th and 21st, we see appointments to the Pike Place Market Preservation and Development Authority. This authority is responsible for safeguarding the market's unique character while also ensuring its continued growth and vitality.
It's about striking that delicate balance between preserving history and heritage while embracing progress, something that I'm sure resonates with many Seattleites.
Absolutely. And these are just two examples among many. The sheer volume of appointments speaks to the sheer scope of city government and its impact on every aspect of our lives.
It's like we often see the finished product, the policies, the programs, the changes, but these minutes pull back the curtain and show us the intricate machinery at work behind the scenes.
Exactly. And it's not just about which boards and commissions are involved, it's also about who is being appointed to these positions.
Right, because we're talking about real people with their own experiences, expertise, and perspectives that they bring to the table. Who are some of the individuals appointed during these meetings, and what makes their appointments noteworthy?
We see individuals like Kristen Hawes and Marissa Baker appointed to different boards, each bringing their unique qualifications to the table. Their appointments reflect a broader trend of seeking out diverse voices and perspectives to ensure that these boards and commissions are truly representative of the communities they serve.
It's like building a puzzle where each appointee represents a crucial piece contributing to the bigger picture of how Seattle functions. But it isn't just about new faces, is it? I noticed that a lot of the appointments were actually reappointments. What's the significance of that?
That's a keen observation. A high number of reappointments can indicate several things. It might suggest satisfaction with the current board member's performance, a desire for continuity in certain policy areas, or even a reflection of the political dynamics within the council. It's worth noting that reappointments don't always sail through without discussion or debate.
So even reappointments can reveal underlying tensions or areas of agreement within the council.
Absolutely. They're not merely rubber stamps. Each reappointment represents a conscious decision to maintain a certain direction or approach. For example, we see Councilmember Moore's introduction of Affordable Housing Week during these meetings, signaling her commitment to this issue.
It's a reminder that these appointments aren't just about filling seats. They're about shaping the city's agenda and priorities.
Precisely. And speaking of shaping the city's agenda, our deep dive into these meeting minutes takes us next into the realm of collective bargaining agreements, particularly for the Seattle Police Department. This is where things get particularly interesting.
Police contracts, especially in 2024, must have been a hot-button issue. What can you tell us about the discussions and decisions surrounding these contracts? This feels like it's about more than just salaries and benefits.
You're absolutely right. The minutes from the May 14th meeting make note of two specific council bills related to police contracts, CB 128-783 and CB 120784. CB 120783 dealt specifically with the Seattle Police Officers Guild, essentially the police union, outlining their collective bargaining agreement.
Okay, so this is where the rubber meets the road regarding police pay and working conditions. What kind of insights can we glean from the minutes about this particular bill? Was it a smooth negotiation process, or were there points of contention?
This is where things get interesting. While CB 120784 covering other city employees passed unanimously, CB 120783, the Police Guild contract, faced some opposition. In fact, Councilmember Morales cast the sole dissenting vote on this bill.
A lone dissenting vote. That speaks volumes. It's 2024, a time of heightened scrutiny and national conversations about police reform, accountability, and transparency. I imagine her dissenting vote reflects those broader tensions and debates, wouldn't you say?
It's very likely. While the minutes don't delve into the specifics of her reasoning, it's impossible to separate this vote from the larger context of the national conversation surrounding police reform. Councilmember Morales' vote likely represents a statement about her stance on these critical issues.
It's like we can almost feel the weight of that historical moment pressing down on these seemingly routine council proceedings. It's a reminder that local government doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's always influenced by the broader social and political climate. So we have one bill that sails through unanimously and another that exposes a clear division within the council.
Fascinating. What else can you tell us about these police contracts?
Let's delve into Councilmember Moore's amendment to CB 120783, the Police Guild contract. This amendment specifically addressed the 30 by 30 initiative, which aims to increase the representation of women in police forces to 30% by 2030. The 30 by 30 initiative, a critical step toward creating a more diverse and representative police force. What did Councilmember Moore's amendment focus on?
Her amendment emphasized the importance of improving working conditions for female officers to achieve the initiative's goals. It stressed the need for scheduling flexibility, especially for those with caretaker responsibilities, acknowledging the reality that many women in law enforcement are also mothers or caregivers.
It's about recognizing that diversity goes beyond just numbers. It's about creating a workplace culture that supports and values the contributions of women. Did the amendment have any mechanisms for ensuring that these goals weren't just empty promises?
Absolutely. The amendment mandated quarterly reports from the Seattle Police Department to the mayor and city council, specifically tracking their progress in implementing the 30 by 30 initiative.
Accountability. Always a good sign. It seems like Councilmember Moore wasn't just advocating for change, she was building in a system to measure and track progress.
Precisely. This amendment demonstrates the power of using specific policy levers to drive tangible change within city government. It also highlights how these meeting minutes can reveal the subtle ways in which council members attempt to influence policy beyond just voting on bills.
So we've got appointments, police contracts, and a glimpse into the council's internal dynamics. Quite a lot to unpack. But what about the voices of everyday Seattleites? The minutes mention public comment periods during these meetings. What kind of insights can we gain from these sections of the minutes?
The public comment sections are always fascinating because they offer a glimpse into the concerns and priorities of the people directly impacted by these council decisions. It's a direct line to the community's pulse.
So what was on the minds of Seattleites during these weeks in May 2024? What were people fired up about? Give us a taste of the public sentiment at the time.
The minutes reveal a wide range of concerns reflecting the diversity of experiences and perspectives within the city. We see people raising issues related to housing affordability, a recurring theme in Seattle, as well as concerns about homelessness, public safety, and transportation.
All issues that continue to resonate in Seattle today, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. These concerns speak to the ongoing challenges of creating a city that works for everyone. The minutes remind us that these meetings are not just about abstract policies or political maneuvering. They're about real-life issues that directly impact people's lives.
Right, because ultimately local government should be about serving the people. So we've explored appointments, delved into the intricacies of police contracts, and even tapped into the pulse of public sentiment through the public comment periods. It's amazing how much insight we can gain from these seemingly dry meeting minutes, but we've only scratched the surface. There's much more to explore, from zoning battles to hints of mysterious future projects. I'm already hooked. We've been navigating the intricate world of Seattle City Council meetings, uncovering the stories behind the votes and the passions behind the policies. But our deep dive isn't over yet. What other intriguing details have we gleaned from these meeting minutes?
Let's shift our focus now to a different kind of city planning zoning regulations, specifically CB 120749, which grappled with building height limits in Georgetown.
Georgetown, known for its industrial grit and artsy vibe, not exactly the first place that comes to mind when you think of skyscrapers. What were the key issues at play in this zoning battle?
You've hit the nail on the head. Georgetown has a distinct character, and preserving that character often involves navigating complex questions about development growth and the balance between progress and preservation. In this case, CB 120749 sought to amend the zoning code to allow for a 10-foot height limit exception for commercial zones in a specific area of Georgetown.
So tug of war between maintaining the neighborhood's existing feel and allowing for some flexibility in development. It sounds like a microcosm of the larger debates happening throughout Seattle about growth and change.
Precisely. This ordinance highlights how zoning decisions are often about more than just building heights or setbacks. They're about protecting the soul of a neighborhood and balancing the needs of residents and businesses.
It's a reminder that even hyper-local issues can reveal broader tensions and values within a city. Speaking of broader implications, let's talk about CB 12788, which authorized Seattle Public Utilities to acquire land for an unspecified project. What's intriguing here is the mention of eminent domain. Can you explain what eminent domain is and why it might be relevant in this context?
Eminent domain is a powerful tool at the government's disposal. It allows the government to take private property for public use, even if the property owner doesn't want to sell. It's controversial because it involves a delicate balancing act between private property rights and the greater good.
It raises all sorts of questions about fairness compensation and who ultimately gets to decide what constitutes public use.
Exactly. In the case of CB 110780, the ordinance granted Seattle Public Utilities the authority to acquire land, either through negotiation or, if necessary, through eminent domain. Unfortunately, the minutes remain frustratingly vague about the specific project in question.
A mystery project shrouded in bureaucratic language. It makes you wonder about the power dynamics at play. What kind of project could be so important that it might necessitate the use of eminent domain? It definitely leaves us wanting more information.
Agreed. And that's part of what makes these meeting minutes so fascinating. They offer glimpses into the inner workings of city government, but they also leave us with lingering questions and a desire to dig deeper.
It's like we've stumbled upon a trail of breadcrumbs leading us through the intricacies of city planning zoning debates, and even the potential use of eminent domain. It's a reminder that local government is often about grappling with complex trade-offs and balancing competing interests.
Absolutely. And these minutes provide a valuable window into how those trade-offs are made and how those decisions shape the city we experience every day.
As we wrap up our deep dive into these Seattle City Council meeting minutes, I'm struck by how much we can learn from these seemingly mundane documents. They offer a unique perspective on the city's history, its challenges, and the ongoing efforts to create a more livable and equitable future.
It's a reminder that local government isn't just something that happens in City Hall. It's woven into the very fabric of our daily lives.
And that wraps up our deep dive into the Seattle City Council meeting minutes from May 2024. We've journeyed through procedural votes, witnessed policy debates, and even uncovered a few mysteries along the way. It's been a fascinating glimpse into the inner workings of local government, and a reminder that even in the seemingly dry world of meeting minutes, there are stories waiting to be unearthed. We encourage you to seek out the meeting minutes from your own city or town. You might be surprised by what you discover. Until next time, stay curious and stay engaged with the issues that shape your community.